Okay guys, we're back on our series, Stop Buying Bees. This is part 4. As you can see, there's a lot of colony activity going on today. Just going to give them a little bit of smoke at the entrance because it's pretty windy today. As you can see, the smoke blowing. They're not going to be in a real good mood to be worked with. What our main interest today is going in here and see how our queen cells took. I'm expecting, you know, probably 100%. We only did 5, so shouldn't be no issues with that. Remember, this is the queenless cell starter separated by a string divider board, and this is the queen right colony. So we're going to dive into that and see what it's looking like. I did go into the other colony earlier today. They have some dinky cells started, queen cells started, so I'm not going to use those. At least they're trying, so we're going to give them one of these cells when it's time and hopefully get that colony back on its feet. I am going to show you the colony because we've been adding brood to it, and it's looking a lot stronger and a lot healthier, but it just doesn't have a queen, and they've been without a queen for a while. They are eating, so that's a good sign. Healthy bees eat, but they're just queenless. And if you look right down in here, you'll be able to tell this colony is growing. It's still small, but it's growing. That cap brood we've been giving them over and over is really going to help this colony grow. It's going to give them a lot of young bees that will hopefully accept that cell and a new queen. But nothing much to speak to on this colony here today. Our main focus is going to be over here. So we're going to close these girls back up. There's drones walking around in here also. That's due to the drone laying queen we had. I think they was in the process of superseding her and had already killed her when they had some cells going. But I don't want those genetics, and I destroyed those, so now we got to fix that problem. So we're going to get into this colony and see what's going on. Now remember, this top box is queen right. It's got our queen in it. The entrance is over here on the back, so I'm just going to give it a little bit of smoke. And I'm going to open this box up real careful, and I'm going to set it right here. I'm going to check that double screen board to make sure my queen's not on it. I'm going to look real good. If you'll zoom in, you'll be able to see the double screen board and how it works. Basically, it's just 2 cutouts on a 5/8 inch piece of plywood with 3/4 inch rims around it with an opening. And what that does, the screen here prevents the queen mandibular pheromone from being transferred back and forth, and that essentially makes the bottom part queenless, okay? Because we've got a queen in the top. I'm going to open this colony up gently. Now, if you remember, we grafted some cells, a lot of bee coverage here. Just going to give them a shake. You don't want to shake too hard or bump these cells around. They are in a very fragile state right now. Give them some smoke because they are queenless, and you know, they're not in any particular mood to be messed with. I've been feeding, continuously feeding them. Just move this over here for now without trying to squish all my bees on it. We're going to take our feeder rim off, and this is just a 3/4 inch rim. I don't want to bang it on this box because of the queen cells that are in it. And I'm going to look down in here and see what our grafts look like and see if they've taken. If you recall from part 3, we didn't wait 24 hours before we inserted our graft. It's a good idea to do that, but you don't have to. And I didn't tell you don't have to in the video. I wanted to see what your thoughts were on it, but you don't have to do that. Now, if you're trying to raise a lot of cells, it'd be beneficial to do that. But if you're only trying to raise a few like we are right here, it's not a problem. Move that over. And this should be our cell bar frame. Now keep in mind, I hadn't been in it since we grafted, but I should see well-developed cells underway because of the stronger population. All the foragers came back and crowded this box out nicely for us. Okay, here's our cell bar frame. Now I don't want to keep it out long because it's windy and I don't want these cells to chill. So if he'll come in, we'll see if we can get some of these bees off of here very, very gently. I might actually try to smoke them off and see if that'll work. Yeah, that's working a little better. Okay, we got a lot of them smoked off. And there's our 5 started cells, ladies and gentlemen. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So they've accepted all our cells. They look good. The bases are full of royal jelly, just like we like to see. So we're going to put these cells back in. No need to look further. One more shot of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not sure if you can see it that way. 5 cells started. They look really good. And that's all we needed to raise. So I'm going to gently put these cells back in. There's my hive too. And I'm going to close these back up. Just like so. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we've got our feeder rim back installed. Now typically what I would do in this case is I would pull the divider board out and I would put a queen excluder on. But now it's still getting chilly at night, and if I do that, I have no brood in this colony. These bees are going to come up to this colony to keep all the brood warm tonight. And when they do that, these cells that are in here are going to chill and they're not going to be viable anymore. So to prevent that, I'm going to leave the double screen board on. But typically you would want to turn it back into a queen right cell starter if it was warmer and we were making more cells and all that, because the reason you do that is when bees are raising cells for supersedure or an emergency response, they're raising a few good cells to get them by, and they'll put forth the resources on those cells and they'll draw out a bunch, but a lot of times they'll come back in and tear those cells down. And when they tear those cells down, you're left with maybe 1 or 2 cells. But we only need 1 or 2 cells out of these 5 that are in here. So we're not worried about them tearing them down. And I'm more worried about the brood or the bees that are in here coming up into the top queen right portion and leaving those cells without any bee covers to chill. So we're going to put this same colony back together just like we had it. Those cells will come out in 2 days when they're capped. And we will take them and transport them, put them directly into the incubator. Now anytime you do this, I always like to come up top and check and just see what's going on. Make sure everything looks good up top. And so far so good, everything's looking pretty good. A lot of bee coverage. But see, a lot of those bees would come up top and help keep this brood warm. But we've got sufficient brood or bees up top to do that. And our cells at this point, it's still a little early for us, but we're trying to get an early start on the season. We finally started seeing some drones walking around and things like that. These frames are still stuck because it's still cool out, but I just want to kind of glance at it, make sure everything's fine, and it looks good. Just be real gentle. You don't want to roll your queen, especially if these are the only bees you had, and that's what we're trying to emulate, growth, and that being the only bees you have. This is full of nectar and pollen, good looking bee coverage on it. healthy looking bees. They don't run across the frame, which is what I like. I don't expect the queen to be on there, but if she is, I always lean it up against the box, so hopefully she can find her way back in. Just want to check and make sure she's still doing good. And I'm also checking bee coverage, because we do have brood. Now keep in mind, sealed brood generates a lot of its own heat, but we still need brood to help the young larvae, or sorry, bees to help the young larvae. And these are looking good. This is completely filled with eggs and larvae. That side's sealed larvae, or sealed cappings, sealed brood underneath it. I'm only going to look at one or two more of these. Yeah, more brood here. More brood here. And the queen's really laying up heavy. By the time we get ready to make the splits, this box will be ready for another deep super. And we'll just continue on splitting bees off of this box and the other box for the whole season and see what we come up with. We're hoping to get 32 out of it, but you never know. Bees will be bees, and it's hard to tell what you'll actually get. I'm just checking. I like to lay eyes on my queen. I just like to make sure she's safe. Because if not, we need to know if one of those cells needs to come over here. Frame of stores. More stores on this side. I don't see my queen yet. Just going to be ever so gentle. Raise these frames out. The queen, she likes to hide from the sunlight, so sometimes it can be difficult to find her. Or we could have just missed her. Alright, so we're going to go back through these again, same way. And just make sure we didn't miss her. I want to lay eyes on her and make sure she's here. That was all stores, so I don't believe she's going to be on that one. Just take a glance. Yeah, I see a lot of young larvae on here. A lot of young stuff. But I'm just wanting to lay eyes on my queen just to make sure she's okay. And she's got a big bright yellow dot, so she shouldn't be hard to find, but sometimes I miss her. There she is right there. She's safe and sound, doing her thing. Everything's good in this colony. So we're going to put her back in, being mindful of where she was at on the frame, and gently push this frame over where I can see what's going on. Make sure she's not down in between the sidebars of the frame and get squished. Now we're going to put this frame back in and we're done pretty much for what we needed to show you in part 4. These boxes are a little tight anyway because we run 1 gallon feeders in all of our colonies, but we like those 1 gallon feeders, and that's a good trade-off for us, is to having to deal with this a little bit, but it's okay. Okay, so we verified the queen's in the top box. She looks good and healthy. She's laying eggs. We've got 5 drawn out queen cells in the bottom box. In 2 days those should hatch, or sorry, they won't hatch in 2 days, but in 2 days they'll be capped. And at that point we'll transfer them into the incubator, and we'll talk to you more about that in a minute. But I want to get these bees closed off. And I want to feed them. It can be stressful manipulating colonies like this, and nothing that I know of works better to help a stressful colony is than to feed them. This is it's thinner syrup, but it's not too thin. Well, it's pretty thin. It's about 1 to 1, I'd say, but that'll help stimulate that queen even more. But if it gets cold, I would recommend taking that 1 to 1 off and running a thicker syrup, or if it's still cold where you're at, take it off and run a thicker syrup. Okay, so these bees are bringing in pollen and a little bit of nectar. The maples are blooming. I'm not sure what else is blooming quite yet, but they're active, they're working. This colony, just to recap, is queenless, and it's drawing our cells out. We've got 5 cells started in here, queen cells started. We've got a feeder rim above it just to keep feed on this colony with a dry sugar block. And we've got our double screen divider board still dividing this colony. The typical way to do it would be, at this point, would be to reverse, take the divider board out and put a queen excluder on. But we're not doing that because we still have cold weather and we have no brood in this bottom box. Now I could take a frame of brood out of there and put in here, and the bees would stay near it and keep it warm, but that's just more trouble, and it's only 5 cells, and I don't think they're going to tear down 5 cells. Because in the emergency queens, they'll typically raise several 4, 5, 6 queen cells, but they'll tear all of them down but 2 or 3. But if you do it the other way and make it a queen right cell starter, they'll start a bunch of cells, and then they'll, once you put that queen excluder in here, they'll finish those cells under the swarm response versus the emergency response. So I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, leave a comment in the comment section and let us know if that doesn't make sense to you. But that's how we're doing this colony. 2 days we'll take these cells out, they'll be capped, we'll put them in our incubator, and then we'll get ready to make these split, to make these 2 separate colonies and give that colony a queen cell, and we'll probably be adding a super to this colony. So we hope you enjoy this video a lot. We're trying to help you a lot, so now we're going to take you inside and show you our incubator setup, and we'll get you squared away on that, so stay tuned. Okay guys, we're in the house now. We've got our incubator set up. It's a GQF, Georgia Quail Farm Genesis incubator. You can get them online, you can get them off Amazon, different places. They're about $100 I think, but they're really good at what we use them for, and they last a long time. We set it up 2 days before we introduced the cells to it to let everything equalize. We just set this one up today. We set the temperature at 93.5, and you like to keep your humidity around 70 to 68 to 70% humidity, and we do that with a trough in the bottom. It comes with everything you need. We do actually add an extra little humidity indicator on the inside of it, but this is the incubator I use. Nothing special. It's a good incubator for what we use, but you can use any incubator. Main thing is make sure the temperature control is stable and the humidity it displays right, because that is crucial to your queens emerging. We appreciate you watching this video. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. This is going to be a great series, and we have more things coming. So thanks for watching, and happy beekeeping.